Moving to Metro Atlanta definitely has its perks, but there are definitely some downsides that could be deal breakers depending upon your situation. These are things that you should definitely consider before making a move here. Hi, I'm Sarah Maslowski with KeyPoint Homes Group, a local real estate agent right here in North Metro Atlanta area, helping people from all over relocate right here, just as I did 11 years ago. Here are some of the biggest negatives you need to know. As a first-time home buyer or someone with a very limited budget wanting to buy a house, I would not move to the Metro Atlanta area. That is, unless I worked for one of the many major companies here and made a great salary, which is the whole appeal of living here in Metro Atlanta. The job opportunities are pretty great. However, let's pretend we're in the past about 16 years or so when I was a school teacher and needed to buy my first home. If that happened today, it would be very hard to buy a home here in Metro Atlanta with that salary alone, unless I'd been saving up for a very long time or had a significant other who made significantly more money than I did. That's not to say that if you are a teacher or anything else that doesn't have a massive salary that you won't be able to afford to buy a home here in the North Georgia area, but there are most likely going to be areas that are just outside of your price point. Currently, out of all the single family homes listed for sale in the 5 surrounding counties of Hall, Jackson, Barrow, Gwinnett, and Forsyth counties, which are some of the most affordable in the Metro Atlanta area, less than 4% of them are under $300,000. Now, the reason it's much more expensive to live here in the North Metro area compared to other parts of Georgia or other states in the Southeast is because there are so many opportunities and amenities. Like I mentioned earlier, the job market here is fantastic, and oftentimes most of the people that I work with are moving here specifically because of a job, and usually a pretty good paying one. Now, you can find more affordable homes in South Georgia or other more rural areas at a more affordable price point than you can here in the North Metro Atlanta area, but you aren't just going to have the same access to amenities, jobs, and so on. One thing that makes home prices here a little bit more tolerable is our low property taxes. Now, certain counties like Fulton and DeKalb have higher property taxes, making home ownership much more expensive. But when you get a little bit further outside of Metro Atlanta area, it tends to be a little bit more affordable. I like to tell people that a good rule of thumb when trying to determine the property taxes for a house is usually right at 1% of your purchase price. Some counties it's a little bit higher, and some it's a little bit lower. For example, Forsyth County, where Cumming and parts of Alpharetta are located, has an effective tax rate of 0.9%. In Gwinnett County, where Beaufort and Suwannee are located, that's going to be higher at 1.3%. And in Hall County, where Gainesville and Flowery Branch are, it's just over 1%. The state average here in Georgia is just under 1% at 0.92%. Now, if you compare that to towns in New Jersey, where it's almost 2.5%, Georgia has quite the savings. Some suburbs even offer tax breaks for seniors that is going to save a ton of money on your property tax, and that's going to vary by county. If public transportation is an important factor for you, Metro Atlanta is essentially a non-starter. Outside of MARTA in the city and close to the perimeter of Atlanta, there are very little public transit opportunities here in the Metro Atlanta area. If you don't drive, it is tough to get around. Some counties like Gwinnett and Cobb County offer bus transportation, but the routes are pretty limited. Long story short, having a car is an absolute necessity. While some areas like Alpharetta and Duluth have some walkability to things like restaurants and some shopping, you're going to need transportation for everyday essentials. I often get asked if there are challenges with things like Uber in the more northern suburbs of Cumming, Gainesville, and even Brazelton. You definitely have those options, but definitely not public transportation. I would guess though, chances are if you are considering a move here to the Metro Atlanta area, public transportation is not something that is high on your priority list. And if it is high on your priority list, well, I would not move here. It would make getting around impossible. You likely will not like living in Metro Atlanta if you are looking to get away from the growth and development. If you're considering a move here because you are trying to escape that where you live currently, well, you're likely trading one problem for the same. Traffic and congestion can be quite a problem in many of the suburbs of Atlanta because the infrastructure is struggling to keep up. Oftentimes, the growth outpaces the speed at which cities and municipalities can improve the roads, which can create a cluster. If you look at Gwinnett County, traffic can be burdensome, especially on I-85 and Highway 316 and Beaufort Highway. Commutes to Atlanta Atlanta can be brutal, and local roads are often congested. If you're considering areas like Forsyth, while the roads are a little bit better than Gwinnett County, Georgia 400 gets extremely congested during rush hour, especially around Cumming and south towards Alpharetta. Traffic can be expected pretty much anywhere in the metro Atlanta area, especially if you have to commute closer to the city. Even if you don't have to commute, getting around town where you live can sometimes cause some frustration and headaches, especially during certain times of day, and the road simply can't handle the influx of traffic to popular shopping areas, interstate access areas, and just your everyday essentials. I know where I live here in Gainesville that on some days, what takes me 5 minutes to get to the grocery store on the weekend can take 10 to 15 minutes because everyone is coming into town from nearby areas to go to things like shopping and stuff like that, and it just creates kind of like a bottleneck, and sometimes it can be frustrating. Simply put, most of the towns in metro Atlanta area were not built for efficiency. It's more of a hodgepodge, haphazard, what can we do to make this situation better after we've created this mess? Another negative of living in metro Atlanta that you need to know that could be a deal killer is the school quality can be a hit or miss. While there are some great schools, a lot of public schools, especially in certain counties, underperform. However, from talking with many great clients that have relocated from other states with incredibly low rankings, coming to schools with a 6 or 7 ranking on greatschools.org here in Georgia feels like a vast improvement. Now, there are plenty of pockets in the metro Atlanta area known for consistently great schools like Buford, Swanee, Johns Creek, Alpharetta, and Cumming. And you'll notice that the home prices there reflect the quality of the schools. This can be a limiting factor for some depending upon your budget and other things that you want in the next place that you live. While there are other metro suburbs that offer greater affordability like Jefferson, the trade-offs of the more rural, small town feel may make those areas feel like that's not an option. Metro Atlanta can be an expensive option depending upon where you are coming from and what amenities you are looking for, including schools, traffic, and access to shopping and restaurants. While some of these things may be a non-starter for your specific needs, we have found that clients we have been able to help have found that our non-starters are a huge improvement from the areas that they are moving from. I would not want to move to Metro Atlanta if I was dead set on not being in a community with an HOA. Now, you can find homes that are not in an HOA, but I would say over 2/3 of the homes here in the area that I serve are going to be in a neighborhood with an HOA. Now, one thing to note that is different about HOAs here in Georgia than most other states is the price. I recently mentioned an article I had read and talked about that states that had the highest average HOA fees, and I was so shocked to see how much money people are spending per month in other states. Unless you're in an active adult community or a gated neighborhood with a country club here in the metro Atlanta area, you can expect to pay on average between $500 to $1,200 annually in HOA fees. According to the article, people in Missouri are spending on average $461 a month in HOA fees, and Arizona was almost $450 a month. And we all know that the master planned communities in Florida come with crazy prices ranging from $200 to $500 per month. You are not going to be paying those hefty monthly fees unless you specifically seek out a neighborhood that intentionally for its extravagant amenities. The whole point of an HOA is to help maintain the neighborhood's home values. The goal is not really to tell you how to live your life and tell you what to do and not to do with the property you own, and they are going to tell you a little bit what not to do and prevent people from painting their homes purple. I was in a neighborhood the other day where, yes, there was a very purple house. People get very defensive very quickly about not wanting to be in an HOA, which if you need to build a separate garage or workshop or want to park an RV at your house, obviously this is a scenario where we are probably going to want to avoid finding a house in an HOA. But if you just don't want to be told what to do, you're really going to limit your options. Again, you can find properties that aren't in an HOA, but oftentimes they are going to be right off of a road or not in the best location. So that's going to be the biggest difference between homes in neighborhoods and homes not in neighborhoods with HOAs. Obviously, someone comes in and clears the land and makes a private area for the whole neighborhood. So the location is most likely going to be more ideal than an individual home that's just plopped down on the road. Now, if you are looking for a significant amount of acreage, which here we would classify as about 5 acres or more, you're not going to have a lot of options. Bottom line, most homes that you are going to find are going to be in neighborhoods with an HOA. So if that's a non-starter for you, Metro Atlanta is likely not the best place for you. So what are your thoughts? If you're a local, let me know in the comments what I missed. And if you're thinking of making a move here, my team and I would love to help you make that move. You can find my contact information in the pinned comment below this video. If you want to learn more about what it's like living here, make sure you check out this video next.